Welcome to another episode of Last Week's Comics a Day. I have a very small stack of comics that came out this week, so I've augmented this stack with some other stuff. We are going to start with Zdarsky Comic News, which I've always enjoyed. But I got this home on Wednesday, and I was reading this next to my wife, and she's a big manga reader, so I told her about this real quick. And then she's like, wait, can I see that? And then she reads through all of this, which is funny, and at one point she asks, is this real? And I go, no, it's definitely, you shouldn't trust anything he says in there. It's all for comedic effect. But this is very funny, as always. In this, he talks to Gail Simone. And on the back here, there are some other things. I agree with this. I have not read this. And this is, I would find questionable just because of Tinian. But I will mention this. I don't know how much else he has written, but I remember reading the Spider-Man Life Story comics. That was like a 5-issue series. Each issue was a different decade of Spider-Man's life. It was like, what if his life, or 6 issues? What if his life took place over real time? That's a terrible sentence. But, yeah, there's good stuff in here. It's always entertaining whenever one of these Zdarsky Comic News comes out, and it just fills me with warmth. This might come as a surprise, but I got Deadeyes issue 3. This came out a couple of weeks ago. I didn't get it at the time because after issue 2 I actually dropped the series. I didn't find it Empty Frames to be as good as the original series, and I'm like, I should just cut my losses. And then I heard issue 3 was good from Berg at the comic shop, and I'm like, I was already getting, I think, like 13 books. It was one of the heaviest weeks, and I'm like, I'm not going to throw another one in there. Then I'm questioning, and I came back because here's what happened. So I was only supposed to get 2 books this week, Absolute Superman and the Conan miniseries Blackstone, and Diamond in Transit has misplaced box. It has since shown up at the top, so I will get that next week. But the 2 books that I was supposed to get this week, one of them wasn't at the shop. So I went back and I grabbed Deadeyes, and this issue is great. This is sort of what I think was missing from the first 2 issues, and there's a surprising amount of puke in this. But also the story has there are definite stakes, and there's an escalation of events, and it's just, I mean, basically, he's breaking into a house in this scene, and he catches this guy coming out of the bathroom, and then a fight breaks out, and he never quite gets his pants up, and he is still hungover, and now he's being physically active, and like, oh man. So from here on out, there's just a bunch of puking, and it's gross, but it's also funny, and it's well executed, and I will now finish off the series that I had previously dropped. But this is an excellent issue. Art's great, story is awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad Berg made the recommendation to me. I'm thankful. This is post-Thanksgiving, but I'm thankful to have a comic shop manager that knows me so well and makes recommendations. Absolute Superman issue 2 is the one book that came out this week. I got one of the variant covers because this shot looks awesome. What I did with the Ultimate Universe stuff is Absolute Batman, loved the first issue, added the series to my pull list. I think that might be a lie, because I now have the ability through their website to select which cover I want, and so I may not have added the series to my pull list, because then I would default to cover A every time, and like, sometimes I like the variant covers, but I immediately went on and pre-ordered everything that was available. Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman, I just grabbed the next issue, which would have been issue 2, and with the strength of this, I'm now going to go pre-order everything else that's available, because this is really well done. And so was the first one, but I was still kind of skeptical for unknown reasons. But And then Absolute Wonder Woman, I wound up dropping after the second issue just because she can't finish a fight for some reason, and I don't care about Steve Trevor. Anyway, this is an excellent issue. It starts on Krypton, and we get a couple of snippets on Krypton, and Clark, I think, is older than I expected when he arrives on Earth, because this is 6 years ago, and he looks, I don't know, I'd say maybe 15 here. And he looks, I don't know how he actually looks here. Maybe 20s. So I don't know if this is, immediately before, but anyway. He's definitely not a baby when he leaves Krypton. He remembers some things. What this is, I mean, it's excellent. So it's Clark and, honestly, Lois in South America, and there's these peacemakers, and there's a great scene that I'll get to in a moment, but she put these cuffs on him at the end of the last issue, and so most of this, they are chained together, and he's got all of these peacemakers that want to shoot him and actually try to shoot him right there. And then we get some cape action, and the cape kind of has a supporting role throughout this. Cape is doing some things, and he takes off. There's a question of whether or not he is flying or jumping, and it looks, I mean, this panel here looks like she just lost all of her, it looks like a Mortal Kombat scene where she has just lost all of her limbs, and all of that red stuff is just blood spewing out of her. But, it's not, it's whatever this spaceship cape is. Anyway, it's a great issue. They both wind up talking about writing in this. So in here, this first page, he's actually slouching through a class, and he talks about writing a report, and he gets scolded for not using automated systems to generate a report for him. So he's writing, and then later on, Lois is writing, and that's what this different text here is. So she's giving a report, I'll say, because there's a couple of things in here, and I'm like, this is weird to put into a report. He smelled amazing. That's weird. But it actually is revealed. So in this sequence, there's these text boxes that are on top of the action, and then we cut to her here, actually giving the report to Brainiac in whatever capacity this is, which I find interesting. I'm intrigued, but she's actually speaking to this system. It's not actually a written report, so some of the weirdness over here, he smelled amazing, makes somewhat more sense. And she doesn't like writing reports, and this sequence is her talking about, yeah, but I want to write this. And then she does write it. She says it feels good. And so they are both writing, which I enjoyed, because I think it's sort of, I mean, they talk about writing, Lois and Clark, in the regular Superman titles, but they don't talk about, I guess, enjoying it or seeing the meat and potatoes of it. And so seeing it from this angle, I enjoyed that. And it ends with this last page where I think the Peacemaker that we know is starting to come out. They mention Smith, I think. Yeah, right there. And he goes a little bit nuts. And that's not good. It's not good for anyone. But it's excellent. It's highly recommended. It is going to be a pick of the week because it's the only book that I got that actually came out this week. But it also has the benefit of being excellent. So now we're going to get into some other stuff. This is The Punisher Presents Barracuda. After I had read the Garth Ennis Welcome Home, Frank. Welcome Back, Frank. And then Wilson let me borrow the Omnibus. Berg mentioned this as a possible next thing to read, and I'm glad that he did, because this is incredible. So I was at the, I was getting an oil change and getting my car work done a few weeks back. I've had these for a little while, this and plastic, and I didn't really have an opportunity to read them until I was getting some work done on my car, and I was just there for 4 hours. So I read this and Plastic same day while I was waiting for my car to come back, and it was just enjoyment the whole time, even though I'm just sitting there waiting. Oh, I forgot about this. This guy's one of the antagonists, basically Christopher Walken. I mean, he's straight up Christopher Walken. The way he's written, the way the pauses are with his word balloons, it's amazing. Anyway, Barracuda. I was unfamiliar with the character. I kind of thought he was an older creation, but I guess Ennis created him this century. I want to say like 2007, but that might just be in my head as a date from somewhere else. Anyway, it's Barracuda, who did show up in a prior Punisher series, and then here he's trying to get money in order to get revenge on Punisher, and it's just incredible. It's typically full of action and violence and some sex stuff and just over-the-top comedy, and it's really well done. This is going to be older, but if you can find it, I highly recommend this as well. It's just pure enjoyment. Plastic is a series that Berg has recommended to people a few times, myself and Wilson, and I was never interested because it's a serial killer in love with a sex doll, and it's like the premise, I'm like, I don't care about any of that. And weirdly, the art is extremely Ryan Otley-esque, but it's a really, I'm going to say, heartfelt story about a serial killer, delusional, I would say, and his love for this sex doll, blow-up doll. And this is also just incredibly well done. Whew. Dan put this one on your list of horror books that you should get. It's phenomenal. He winds up, this guy he wants to be left alone. He's, I wouldn't say on the run, but technically he is on the run. And he winds up getting embroiled in this situation in a small town. Nobody knows who he is. And just everyone is sort of out of their depth. And it's really well done. Surprisingly well done for a premise that I didn't think I'd be interested in. It's really well done. There is a sort of pre-sequel series going on right now, and I'll wait for the trade on that. I'm not going to go back and get the single issues, but just got in the car. Like, it's just really well done. But I recommend this as well. This actually just came in the mail last night. So I've been listening to watching the Ink Pulp podcast on YouTube for maybe the last year, and I've gone back and watched some of the earlier videos. But Eric Canetti has been talking about for a while. He's doing his own series called Arc Athena. There, Canetti. This is from Iconic Comics, and basically, I use Black Friday or 11/11 in China, the sort of November, December time period. If there's anything that I'm sort of interested in, but don't want to pay full price, I use this time to like, okay, now everything basically on the planet is on sale. I'm going to go buy some things. So this was 20% off on Iconic Comics. I grabbed it to see what it's like. Basically, it is sort of it's a hardcover, but sort of that softer hardcover, if that makes any sense to anybody. It's oversized, so I think it's 40 pages, and I was curious about this, so I grabbed it, and I have not yet had the chance to read it. I will maybe do a video or speak about this at some future point, but I'll just show off some of the interiors quickly. I really have no idea what it's about, but I'm curious. He's been talking about it for a long time. I believe there are 4 of these out. Last I checked, it says of 6, but I think he changed his mind on that after a conversation with Todd McFarlane. Anyway, it's a good video series. I'm curious to check this out, and I'm looking forward to it. Lastly, this came out also a few weeks ago, and this is the Alien Illustrated adaptation, I'll say. Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson. This is also well done. I think I talked about this briefly, I'm going to say a week ago, and the watercolors. So I've now finished reading it, and it is well done. It's basically just a straight-up adaptation of the movie. I still love this double-page spread. The scale of it. It's so incredible. So my two things is I don't think... So the scale outside this ship is perfectly executed. And I think the scale inside the ship is better captured in the movie, because I don't think the size is quite right. You don't get the big pan out and seeing children in those suits and the scale of it. So I think that was one thing that I think the movie did better. And then, oh my god, look at this. Oh, I want to talk about the page turns. This is perfectly executed. I think this is maybe a mistake. I don't know if that's supposed to be red. But I talk sometimes about page turn reveals, and there are some in this that are just perfectly executed. This is, as I said, it's just really well done. So this double page spread that I was just talking about is obviously a page turn reveal, because they get to this. I want to talk about the lettering too, and I think this is well done. But that chest burster is a page turn reveal. I think the face hugger, the first time we see that, is a page turn reveal. Yes, like this. So we get them walking into the ship, and then boom, we get to this. That's really well done. And then here we've got the eating scene. We've got this as the lead up, and then chest burster. Like this. This is well scripted, well paced. The only other real difference I think I found from the movie, this was incredible. The first time we really see the xenomorph. It's really well crafted. The only thing that I was going to say is the end feels a tiny bit rushed compared to the movie, where after she sets the bomb, she's running around the ship for a little while. The bunch of that is cut or just reduced, but it is otherwise just a straight up adaptation of the movie, and it's well done. It's just really well done. So I recommend grabbing this for anyone that is interested as well. So I will talk about this when I get the chance. I will recommend this and this and this, which again, pick of the week, and this. I'll finish off the series and make a general recommendation once it's done, but the first, this is a better issue than the first two. I'll just say that. So that is everything that I got. I mean, it's 2 issues. It's everything that I got this week. Next week I'll get that Conan Blackstone. Should be the finale, although seeing some headlines, maybe it's setting itself up for a sequel. I don't know what's happening. I'll figure it out next week. But this is everything that I got this week and in weeks past. I've already talked about Pick of the Week. I guess it's just time to say I get my books from a local comic shop, and if you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. And by, thanks for watching.